Hello everyone, my name is Haritika Sharma and I am here to give presentation on the topic honeypots. So before going into the description of this topic, let's see what we are going to cover. So firstly we will do the preface that tells us why should we study this topic. Then we will do its introduction, definition, classification, some of its examples like honeyed, honeynet, and then we will do its conclusion. So let's move to the preface. So preface deals with actually what a honeypot is and how does it works. Honeypot have been utilized broadly for more than 2 decades. This article gives the necessary information of the use of honeypot as an important security mechanism for corporative networks. It is an exciting new technology with enormous potential for the security community. Actually, honeypot is generally a trap that is set for the hackers, and it is used to gain the information about the attacker and his attack techniques. Now let's move to the introduction part. Honeypot is a resource which helps directly in increasing a computer network security. Honeypot is generally a trap set to detect, deflect, or in some manner counteract attempts at unauthorized use of the information systems. They are highly flexible tools with different applications for the network. They do not fix a single problem. Instead, they have multiple uses. It is primarily an instrument for information gathering and learning. The main goal of honeypot is to gather as much information as possible. IDS, that is intrusion detection system, plays an important part or important role in nearly every honeypot. It is a device or software application that monitors a network or system for malicious activity. So this is the introduction for this topic, honeypot. Now let's do what are honeypots or the definition of the honeypot. So a honeypot is a computer system on the internet that is expressively set up to attract and trap people who attempt to penetrate other people's computer systems. This includes the hacker, cracker, and script. They have multiple uses such as prevention, detection, or information gathering. Honeypot is a security resource whose values lies in being probed, attacked, or compromised. They provide early warning about the new attack and utilization trends, and they allow in-depth examination of unwanted users during and after use of a honeypot. Many people have their own definition of what a honeypot actually is or what it should accomplish. Some feel it's a solution to deceive attacker, other feels it's a technology used to detect attacks, while other feels honeypots are real computer designed to be hacked into and learn from. So, honeypot is a security resource whose values lies in being probed or compromised. Ideally, honeypot provides an environment where intruders can be trapped or vulnerabilities can be accessed before an attack is made on the real assets. One of the most active threats we face today on internet is cybercrime. Hackers are constantly developing more sophisticated means of profiting from online criminal activity. It's become very hard to track these hackers. That's why we set the honeypot. All the personal file, password of online accounts and other stuff which we don't want others to have access to. So to prevent these stuff or to prevent our files from the hackers, we install the honeypots. Now next is the classification of the honeypots. So honeypots are broadly classified into 3 types, that is, first is by level of interaction, second is by implementation, and third is by purpose. They are further divided into 2 types. So first is by level of interaction. It is divided into two types, that is, first is high level interaction and second is low level interaction. Second is by implementation. It is further divided into two types, that is physical honeypots and virtual honeypots. And third is by purpose. It is further divided into two types, that is production honeypots and research honeypots. So let's discuss them one by one. So first is high level interaction. So high level interaction honeypots has full access to operating system and it captures sufficient amount of information. It is extremely complex, time consuming and expensive, but with this it has a very high level of risk. It provides the sufficient amount of information. The most common example of high level interaction is the HoneyNet. It provides a far more detailed picture of how an attack or intrusion progresses or how a particular malware executes in real time. A real system with full operating system services and applications which are instrumented and deployed where they can be accessed by the attackers. More realistic target that may occupy an attacker for an extended period. However, it requires significantly more resources. Now next is low level interaction. So low level interaction honeypots only emulate specific network services. There is no real interaction or operating system. Low interaction honeypots are typically the easiest honeypots to maintain, install, configure, deploy, but they are customized to more specific attacks. But it has some disadvantage that it provides sufficient amount of information. It provides only limited amount of information. It does not provide sufficient amount of information. It provides limited amount of information which is not enough to track the attacker or to track the hacker. So more importantly, there is no interaction with the underlying operating system in low level interaction honeypots, and we see that Honeyed is the most common example of it. Now next is physical honeypots. So physical honeypot is a real machine having its own IP address and they are generally high interactive. They are set up with the additional logging and security mechanisms. Now next is, let's move to next slide, that is virtual honeypots. So virtual honeypots uses application software to create a new separate operating system environment. The virtual host actually uses or shares that same hardware as the physical honeypots does. Instead of using different hardware for each host, many different virtual servers may be contained on one piece of hardware. They are simulated by other machines that respond to the network traffic sent to the honeypots. They may simulate a lot of virtual honeypots at the same time. It is one type of honeynet, specifically honeynets that run multiple operating systems on the same physical computer. Now next is production honeypots. So production honeypots are used to protect organization in real production operating system environments. It captures limited information as the low interaction honeypots does. They are used primarily by companies or corporations. They are placed inside the production network with production servers by an organization to improve their overall state of security. Normally, production honeypots are low interaction honeypots which are easier to deploy. So, production honeypots have three types of categories. It means that it is broadly divided into three types, that is prevention, detection and response. So in prevention we see that we prevent our network with the help of our honeypots. It is a mechanism such as encryption prevent attackers from accessing critical information. Second is detection. In detection we detect the attacker when he breaks the honeypot. When the attacker, or we can say the intruder, access to the honeypot, then we can trace its IP address or we can detect its activity. Then third is response. So it can be easily pulled offline. Next is research honeypots. So research honeypots represent educational resources of demonstrative and research nature whose objective is centered towards studying all sorts of attack patterns and threats. It captures extensive amount of information. They are used primarily by government organizations, research, military, etc. They are used to gather information about the motives and tactics of the attackers. These honeypots are not implemented with the objective of protecting network. They are used to capture automated threats such as autorouters. They are used to capture unknown tools or techniques, or they are used to better understand the attacker's motives. They are also highly expensive. A great deal of current attention is focused on research honeypots, which are used to gather information about the intruder's actions. Now let's move to the honeyed. Honeyed is the example of low interaction honeypot. Honeyed gets its name for its ability to be used as a honeypot. It is a type of demon honeypot that was licensed by GPL. GPL means General Public License. It has an ability to simulate a big network while using a single host. To outsiders, the honeyed looks like a computer network on a network's unused IP address space. They are able to simulate big network on a single host. They provide simple functionality. They provide primarily used in the field of computer security. They can act as a distraction to potential hackers. The hackers have to do more research in order to determine which servers are real, or the hacker may get caught in a honeypot. Honeyed is an open source computer program that allows a user to set up and run multiple virtual hosts on a computer network at the same time. These virtual hosts can be configured to mimic several different types of servers, allowing the user to simulate an infinite number of computer network configurations. Honeyed is primarily used in the field of computer security. Network administrator running Honeyed can monitor his or her logs to see if there is any traffic going to the virtual host set up by the Honeyed. It works on its own network segments. Honeyed can create multiple virtual honeypots to fool the attacker on all unused address. The attacker is fooled into thinking that he or she is interacting with a successful hacked system. In addition, Honeyed automatically updates its list of unused IPs as systems are added or removed from the network. Any servers going to these networks are highly suspicious. Network administrator can take preventive action, perhaps by blocking the intruder's IP address, or by further monitoring the network for suspicious traffic. Now, next is HoneyNet. So, as we know, HoneyNet is the example of high-level interaction honeypots. So, it is an actual network of computers. It provides real system applications and services for attackers to interact with. Any traffic entering or leaving through the honeypot is naturally a suspect. It is a network which contains one or more honeypots. It looks like a real network and contains multiple number of hosts. A honeynet is a network that is intended to be comprised. Its purpose is to get attacked so that an attacker's activities and methods can be studied, and this information can be used to increase the network security. A honeypot is placed behind a reverse firewall. The reverse firewall limits the amount of malicious traffic that can leave the honeynet. There are two critical principles concerning the successful operation of a honeynet. So, window honeypot machine, a Mac honeypot machine, and a Linux honeypot machine are some common examples of this honeynet. So now let's discuss its working. What is the working of the honeypots, or how does it works? So honeypot works by being an intentionally unprotected hole in security. Typically, the devices will take the form of a virtual machine, that is VM, that has been deliberately weakened and placed in an accessible area of network. These virtual machines will often have critical security updates missing, along with open ports and unnecessary services enabled for the hacker to exploit. Additionally, honeypot device will usually have administrator accounts with weak passwords, or we can say that no password at all, making it easy for an attacker to shoot up their benefit without any difficulty. All of these security weaknesses will cause an attacker to think that they have found the easy target to enter, when in reality their time is being wasted in that, and the administrator monitors their activity and shuts down the access to the rest of the network. The end result is that attacker being caught in a trap with nothing to show for it in terms of valuable data. So main types are its main types are data control, data capture, and data analysis. Honeypots are not a solution. They are a highly flexible tool with different applications to security. Primary value in detection and information gathering. Compared to other intrusion systems, honeypots do not generate incorrect alerts or log files like other intrusion systems, because no productive components are running on the system. As we say that data control, data capture, and the data analysis are the three main types of the working of honeypots. So in this, we discuss them one by one. First is data control. The main purpose of honeypot is to protect the data from the attackers. In this, the alternate data, that is the false data we can say, is set up to befool the hacker. In this way, honeypots helps to protect the data, and in this way we can control our data. Now, this is the setup for the data control. A honey wall is set up between the internet and the honeypots. There are no restrictions at all, and the intruder, or we can say that the hacker, can easily access to the false server that is set up to befool him, and in this way we can control our data and we can save our data. Now next is data capture and data analysis. So as we know, the honeypots and honeynets are the unconventional tools. Their main purpose is to collect a data and subsequently analyze them, and to learn information about the attacker and their method, tools, and objectives. Therefore, we proposed framework for analysis of data collected from honeypots and honeynets. So last is conclusion of this topic. So what does this topic conclude? Let's see. The purpose of this topic was to define what honeypots actually are and their value to the security community. They are effective tool for observing hacker movement as well as preparing the system for future attacks. They are highly flexible tool with different applications to security. Primary value in detection and information gathering. Compared to other intrusion detection systems, honeypots do not generate incorrect alerts or log files like other intrusion systems does, because no productive components are running on the system. There is no need to manage database of intrusion signatures or definition, as honeypot systems logs every byte that flows through the network. This data helps researcher to picture an attacker. Honeypots have its own advantages and disadvantages. They are clearly useful tool for trapping the attackers, capturing their information, and gathering or generating alerts when someone is interacting with them. The activities of attackers provide valuable information for analyzing their attacking techniques and methods. Because honeypots only capture and archive data and requests coming into them, they do not add burden to existing network bandwidth. So thank you. This is all from my side. Thank you.